That just kind of proves what a well-oiled machine it is here at the Lifeboat. I'm Tommy, and you are on the boat. How are ya? People, it's a little late. I normally don't do shows this late. I'm going to have to go out to dinner this evening and meet a friend. And I'm telling you, I have read more in the last probably 2.5, 3 days than I've read, well, probably since being incarcerated. The Epstein files are in full swing. This is going to be another one of those shows where by the end of it, you're going to distrust the country a little bit more. Sadly, that's the truth. And I don't know. This is heartbreaking stuff. And the more that comes out, the more heartbreaking it is. And as I said the other day, or maybe it was yesterday, I don't know, starting to bleed together. But if you're looking at all the pictures, they're entertaining as hell. In fact, here, I promised this one from yesterday. Let's do this real quick. Somebody said to me yesterday, it'd be a really good idea. They left in a comment. They said it would be a good idea if you use some pictures. I was like, you know what? Maybe if you stuck around till the end. I did quite a few pictures yesterday, but I did them about at the 1 hour mark. This is the one that we missed yesterday. I didn't have up. That guy right there laying on his side is the former Prince Andrew. Now he is Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. He has been stripped of all of his royal titles. No longer lives in any place that is owned by the crown. Make no mistake, if you happen to be from Great Britain, you're still paying for this cat to live. It's just getting funneled through his brother. That's him laying on his side. For those who are really into watches, I believe that's a Patek Philippe he has on his wrist. You will see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 people whose faces are blacked out. Now, there are people that will say because they're trying to protect the identity of these people. My gut says they're probably underage. I don't know what that woman in the back is wearing. But it kind of looks like maybe she's trying to look royal. I don't know. Maybe it's just to dress. But it kind of looks like there's some royal stuff going on there. This one is going to be a little harder for him to deny. He claimed that the picture of him where he was with, in that famous picture that has gotten an awful lot of press where he is in England and he's standing with Ghislaine Maxwell and Virginia Giuffre, when she was still under the age of consent, and he claimed that thing was photoshopped in there. He said, yeah, that may be me standing there, that may be my hand, but they photoshopped the woman in there. Every single expert who knows anything about photos has said there's no chance that was photoshopped. I wonder how he's going to react to this one. That's a disturbing photo, but this is a guy who's a disturbing piece of crap. His friend Jeffrey Epstein, also a disturbing piece of crap. And Ghislaine Maxwell apparently was friends with him going all the way back to her youth. And that's been coming out through some interviews that allegedly she had told Miss Farmer that. And I believe Miss Farmer. I'm going to continue to believe her because the more that comes out, the more that she looks like everything that she said happens to be a fact. I wish that I had had time to get this stuff up onto a format where you could read it as I was talking. I simply didn't. It's why I'm going so late. This stuff needs to get out. It needs to get out as fast as possible. I'm telling you right now, right as we speak, this is the next hat I'm putting on. My head is going thump, thump, thump in the front. It's absolutely killing me. Andrew, good to see you. I'm glad that you're here. Monk, what's happening? Hello, Jordan. I'm glad you're here. West Coast Fancy Nancy, it's an honor. Audra in Denver, how you been? I'm glad that, excuse me. I'm glad that all of you are here. We're going to jump right into this. I don't know how much stamina I've got. I'm not kidding. My brain is thumping. So let's just recap really quickly. Jeffrey Epstein, for those that haven't been paying attention, most people know that this guy was a freak. He was arrested in 2019. This was what led to his death, right? This is what led to this guy getting whacked. Hold on one second. Or killing himself, who knows? Bear with me, people. This is a family member. Good Lord, your timing is impeccable. It's amazing how you can do stuff all day long and no one reaches out to you, and then the second you go live, that's kind of how it works. But 1 second. It's the only thing that I will break up a live feed for. So this is Epstein got arrested in Florida in 2006. That was the first case, right? We know that this is when he got the sweetheart deal. This was Acosta. He ended up getting a cabinet position. He gave the guy the opportunity to go to jail, show up just at night, right? Spend the night, get out during the day, go do whatever you're going to do. If you need to do a little traveling, we're okay with that. Why not? It's only a sex offense, right? This kind of thing never happens, ever, right? And then in 2019, on one of my favorite people's birthday, on July 6th, 2019, Epstein got arrested on the charge that was going to end up with him hanging himself, air quotes, hanging himself. Sorry, my head is killing me. Hanging himself in a cell. He ended up dead. Whether or not he did it, I don't buy that. I don't think a lot of people do. The term Epstein is now becoming part of the vocabulary of our culture to mean that someone who got knocked off, but it is made to appear like a suicide. And there's a lot of people, I went over a lot of them last night. For instance, one who hung himself shortly after shooting himself in the chest with a shotgun, or he shot himself in the chest with a shotgun and then hung himself. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go back to last night. Sadly, I can't recap that. Here is a email, right? This is a correspondence from, I will read that to you. So here we go. This is, I hope to have this up for you to read in the next day or so. The date is September the 7th, 2019. Importance, normal. Does not need to head out. We made contact last night with New York. Contact was made with, redacted. Attempts were made to arrest or contact Brunel. This would be Jean-Luc Brunel. He killed himself, allegedly, hung himself, same way Epstein did, in a jail cell in France. He is confirmed to live in New York, but it was away for the holiday weekend. We did not have a good address for, redacted, but an attempt was made at a residence in New York. Attempts to get Maxwell are being made in Boston today. Will be approached in Florida and in New York. Haven't as yet. Now, this is, don't blame me. This is bad English. I do not know about Ohio contacting Wexner. Les Wexner. We talked about him last night. Leslie Wexner started the limited group. It's a, you know, you probably saw it in the 90s. It was in every single mall. And then he ended up buying Victoria's Secret, became massively wealthy, and gave ungodly amounts of money to Jeffrey Epstein. Why? Well, depends on who you believe. Maria Farmer says it's because he worked for the Mossad. And he sold his townhouse in New York to Epstein for $1. Tell you what, I'll give him 10, right? 10 to 1 on that. Be happy to. Maybe the estate of Epstein, I'll give him $50 for it. It is now considered the most valuable property in New York in terms of single family homes. It isn't a home, it's a mother-loving mansion. It happens to be a brownstone, air quotes. It's within view of Central Park, and it is, I mean, massive. The place that I'm in right now, you could probably put 9 of inside this place. But there it is, Les Wexner. So they're going after him. Why? Well, we're going to get to that. Well, I promise you we're going to get to that. When you get a chance, this is on July 7th again, at 12:24 p.m., IE, I don't know what that is, wrote, when you get a chance, you can update on the status of the, are you ready? 10 co-conspirators. Do we need to head out on FBI to New York? EFTA 0003736. That would be the document number. The next one is July 9th, email thread, Epstein update. Verbatim, no redactions in this file. Tuesday the 9th of July 2019. Importance, normal. Content. Also, Epstein's bail argument is due to the judge on Thursday. Actual bail hearing will be on Monday. Next one, email. Tuesday the 9th, 2019 at 12:21. 2, not specified, meaning redacted. CC, not specified. Subject, Epstein update. Of the 10 co-conspirators, 3 have been located in Florida and served with grand jury subpoenas. 1 in Boston, 1 in New York, and 1 in Connecticut. That is, so we got 3, 4, 5, 6, and served. 4 of the 10 are outstanding with attempts having been made. 1 is a wealthy businessman in Ohio, Les Wexner. A lead is being sent to CV. I don't know what that is. The remaining 3 are currently out of pocket. The team, 8SA, bunch of letters, is flying out tonight / tomorrow to various locations in Florida to interview approximately 25 victims. The 800 number, 800 call FBI line, is up and running We have received approximately 45 calls, which we are in the process of vetting. Let me know if you need anything else. Signed, Sean. Now, we don't know who Sean is. I'd book a whammer to know who Sean is, because these people ought to be prosecuted. These people knew exactly what was going on. There were 10 co-conspirators. Do you remember me talking about the first Epstein arrest and how a deal was made with Epstein in Florida where they said, we're not going to prosecute you or any co-conspirators, named or unnamed. There are 10 co-conspirators. Who do we know that's been prosecuted? Epstein, dead. Maxwell, in prison and prosecuted. Jean-Luc Brunel, dead. Okay, that's 9 more people that we need to take care of. And I would put money on the fact that a group of them are billionaires, including Les Wexner, right? That scumbag is walking around. Why? The FBI covered all of this up. This stuff was out there. Now, this would be the Biden administration, and don't get mad, don't unsubscribe, don't call me MAGA, because once he left, the blood's no longer on the hands of the people that leave. The next administration does the exact same thing. Why? Because simply put, these are way too hot to touch. It's that simple. I read the list of all of these people last night. These billionaire after billionaire after billionaire, right? They don't want to get rid of the people that get them put in office, the people that put millions of dollars into political action committees. And by the way, they'll put money in political action committees of both parties. They don't give a rat's can. Thank you, David. You're a very kind man. I really appreciate that. That's a very nice thing to say. I'm not. You know what I am? People, I'm a bathtub of knowledge. I can fill that bathtub. If you ask me about this stuff in 6 months, I'll have no idea what you were talking about. But I can go look this stuff up, and then we can talk about it. The problem becomes, and I promise you this is the case. Have you ever watched a magician on stage? Have you ever watched a magician saw someone in half, or a magician comes out and there's a cage and there's tigers in the cage, and then that tiger is going to become the magician, right? David Copperfield, friend of Jeffrey Epstein, sent them a lot of emails, right? But it's going to go from the tiger is going to disappear and we're going to have the magician. How does that happen? Well, the first thing they do is they bring out a couple of really beautiful chicks who go like this, right? They got big boobs and they're wearing very skimpy outfits. The idea is your eyes are going to go to them so that you're not looking at what you're supposed to look at. It becomes a lot easier for them to do things if you're not looking at them. All of these released photos, I mean, they're salacious, but who didn't know Bill Clinton was a pervert? We've been talking about this forever. How long ago did we do Epstein stuff where I said, well, obviously Clinton's a piece of shit, right? We've been talking about this forever. But these photos keep you from looking at the stuff that really might nail somebody. There are 10 co-conspirators. By the way, we're not sure if they considered if they considered Ghislaine Maxwell one of them. They did say they were looking for her. So is she one of them? Does that mean there's 9 left? Jean-Luc Brunel killed himself. That means there's 8 left? Maybe not. Maybe there's more than, maybe there's 10, not counting them, because those names aren't redacted. Maybe they're not redacted because one's in prison, one's dead, or 2 are dead, right? Epstein's dead. He was the case. He's not a co-conspirator. He is the defendant at the time, the person they're prosecuting. Ghislaine Maxwell would have been one of the co-defendants. She bitched to the Department of Justice. Pardon me, folks. It's motorsport night. She bitched to the Department of Justice. When she did her appeal, she didn't say, hey, I got screwed. Hey, ineffective counsel. Let me explain this to people that don't get it. Appeals are not when you go in there and go, I'm not guilty. That's not what an appeal is. Your guilt has already been determined. You're going to go in and say, the judge ruled on this improperly. Appeals deal with what was unconstitutional about your case. Do you get that? Put it 2 in the chat if you understand what I'm saying. It's not about whether you did it or not. It's about the judge ruled wrong on this. My attorney should have allowed this in. The prosecution shouldn't have allowed that in. All of that stuff. It's procedural, right? So she has an appeal, and her appeal says, hey, I had a deal. There was a deal with the Department of Justice. I'm a co-defendant of Jeffrey Epstein. I'm not supposed to be prosecuted. If you've watched The Lifeboat for any length of time, I put that document up on the screen. When I talked about how crooked what happened in Florida was with Epstein. I put the document up on the screen where our government said, we're not going to take your house. We're not going to prosecute you federally. Why the hell not? In the parlance of convicts, it's called a 5K1. It means that you provided substantial assistance to the federal government. Now, sadly, we don't know what that is. And when I was playing with AI last night, I was doing some research into a YouTuber named Rick Ricketta. A bunch of you probably know who Rick Ricketta is. You can put a deuce in the chat, or put a 3 in the chat if you know who Nick is. I was a big fan of his. He did law stuff. Very talented guy. Then he kind of spun off the rails. Got caught with 26 grams of blow, a bunch of firearms, right? And child endangerment charges. Turns out he was watching people bang his wife, and his kids were not getting clean, sent to school. It was all ugly. He was facing 26 years in prison. He cut a deal. AI said because he pled guilty and through cooperation with the prosecution, he got a 28-day suspended sentence. Okay. AI can tell you whatever it wants. A convict will go, sorry, what? He got how much? Cooperation with the government means you cut a deal, right? That's what it is. So AI goes, no, that's not the case. So I said to AI, find me someplace where somebody printed that this person snitched. Well, you don't see that. Because if you do a 5K1 and they print a newspaper article and say, hey, this guy's a snitch, the next guy ain't cutting that deal. They got to believe they're going to get protected, and they're going to use some bullshit term like, well, it's a safety valve, right? He's never been convicted of, so we use a safety valve to give him less time. Doesn't work that way. I'm not accusing Nick Ricketta of snitching. I'm sure that it went from 26 years to 28 days because he's a handsome bastard, and they were just cool with that. But Epstein got a deal. We don't know what for because they don't print in the paper when someone cuts a deal, when they provide something to the government. But Epstein did something. And that not only got him weekends after all of the girls that he molested in Florida, but he got weekends, and that's a term. He didn't really literally get weekends. He just had to show up at night. In most places, it means getting there before midnight, right? So you show up at 11:55, and as long as you're there past midnight, some places make you hang out till 5 in the morning, 4 in the morning. Some places will let you show up at 11:30, and you literally leave at 12:06 because you satisfied both days. Whatever the case, he didn't do much time. For a sex offender, that's unheard of. But on top of that, they said, we're not taking your property. We're not going to prosecute you in the feds. And any co-conspirators, friend of yours, the people that like to molest kids with you, none of those people are going to be charged. Find me somewhere else where that happened. Go ahead, get creative. Find me somewhere else where they did that. You'll do that for drug dealers. You'll do that for money launderers. You'll do that for every kind of scumbag you can think of. You don't do it when there's a victim. You don't do it where the person that got victimized can do an interview and go, what? Right? That doesn't happen. In fact, it's so abhorrent, we passed a law saying you can't do it. You got to go and talk to those people and kind of work it out with them first. And by those people, I mean the victims, 130 of them. They didn't find out until they read it in the newspaper. That's a felony, folks. That's felonious shit. By the way, when I committed felonies, I went to prison for them. If your collar's white and you commit felonies, you know what they do? They give you a cabinet position. For real. The prosecutor that handled that case got a cabinet position in the next administration. And you go, yeah, those absolute shitheads in the Biden administration. No, the cabinet position was under the next administration. He got it under Trump. I've said, left wing, right wing, it's the same bird. It's the same bird. They're all protecting this guy. All of them. 10 co-conspirators. Do you know what that means? That means Epstein gone. Ghislaine Maxwell prison. They took out Jean-Luc Brunel. Hung himself in France, right? In a jail cell. Isn't that convenient as shit? Because he could have told all kinds of stuff. He was the guy that allegedly was buying children in the former Soviet Union. Buying them. But he killed himself, so we don't get to talk to him. But anyway you shake it, that leaves 8 more. 8 more what? 8 more people that molested little kids. that had sex with young girls. And the FBI just went, no harm, no foul. Nothing to see here. If that was the only time they did it, right? If that was the only time that they did it, you could get sick to your stomach. But it's not, right? If you watched last night's show, we know that in 2016, long before this happened, 96, pardon me, when Bill Clinton was getting ready to start his second term. Last night, I believe I may have said he wasn't yet president. He wasn't yet reelected. He was getting ready for his second term, and shout out to whoever corrected me. I can't think of their name off the top of my head. But last night, I talked about how this crap had a shot at getting stopped in 1996 when Maria Farmer went to the FBI and said, Les Wexner works for Israeli intelligence. He has a house in Ohio that is a 10,000 square foot, right? Put a deuce in the chat if your house is smaller than 10,000 square feet. I could put 4 deuces in the chat. If your house is smaller than 10,000, he has a 10,000 square foot safe in the basement, below the basement. Tunnels going off to it. She said when she went in there and used the bathroom, somebody said, hey, Ghislaine Maxwell's voice, she thought, said, don't use the loo. Get off the toilet, get out of the bathroom. We can see you. Everywhere you went in that house was recorded, just like New York, just like little St. James Island, or whatever the hell he called it. Little James, small dicks. That island that he had. This dude wasn't specifically or exclusively a freak and a child molester. He was a spy. Child molesters don't have multiple passports. Their girlfriends don't have 5 passports from 5 different countries. No, those are spies. Her dad was Robert Maxwell. But we somehow are supposed to believe that this girl, that apple fell way far from the tree. She had nothing to do with any of that, right? Robert Maxwell was a spy, but we don't think his daughter is. How is it that none of this is getting yelled at to the top of people's voices? Where are those co-conspirators? I'll tell you what. I'd like to have the poorest of those co-conspirators' checking account. Forget their investment account. Forget their savings account. Just give me whatever that dickhead has in checking. These people are too rich to screw with. You hear that? They're too rich to screw with. Or we just don't want the world to know that we're bowing a knee to the Mossad. That Israel pulls the strings for what the United States does. And you go, yeah, I don't want to believe that. I don't either. However, right when everything was going ugly, and our president came out and said, I'd like to talk to him. I'd like to figure out a way to maybe talk about this. Maybe we can broker some kind of a peace deal, right? Maybe we can. Maybe Iran can stop their nuclear program. What did it take? About 8 hours, 10 hours? He came out and went, Israel will be bombing them. We're going to help. We're backing them 100%. Go back through, and I'm not going to do it. I'm afraid of getting whacked. But go back through and look at how many times we reversed our policy like that. We came out with a statement that said, we're not going to do this. We're not going to get involved. They changed our mind. We're going to side with Israel on this one. I got a tinfoil hat. Maybe you need to buy one. I'm serious. This is FBI documents. I'm not making this shit up. This is in the Epstein dump. And what is being said, right? Normal does not need to head out. We made contact last night with our New York contact, and it was made with redacted. Attempts were made to get Brunel. Well, Brunel's dead. It seems like of the people that we know about, 2 are dead, and 1 is getting treated oddly. Oddly. This is a woman who's a convicted sex offender. Sadly, I spent a little time in the federal prison. And offenders get to go to Lowe's because politicians are worried that somehow they'll escape and molest a kid, and then they'll never get elected again. So there have been laws passed that make it almost impossible. So I said, I'll look through the BOP. Surely there's got to be somebody else with that kind of crime that got to go to a camp, right? Ghislaine Maxwell can't be the only one. So I looked, and she isn't the only one. There, I found one other. It was a guy. Now, it took him about 15 years of trying to get from a low, which took him a long time to get to go to a camp, and he just had to keep filing and filing and filing. She just bypassed all that bullshit and went from a real prison to a club fed like that. All she had to do was go testify to the Department of Justice. Now, we can read all of the things that she said in that. There are transcripts. Now, I guess if you're a cynic, you could say, maybe when they stopped the record button, they said stuff like, got anything else you want to tell us? Or maybe before they hit the record button, they said, here are 4 people you're not going to mention. And here's what we want to come out of this. You know what she did say in that interview, though? She said that the Clinton Foundation and the Clinton Global Initiative, she helped with all that. All those people that were on that jet, like Michael Jackson and Tucker, what's his name? Something Tucker, the guy that was in Rush Hour. I can't think of his first name. Someone will help me with it, though. Or Diana Ross, like those people, the stars, the big names, she put those people together. She booked those gigs where Clinton got to go and walk up on stage and go, hey, doing? I'm the former president. Have a great day. Good to talk to you. $10 million. For public speaking? Chris Tucker, thank you. Appreciate you, Mouse. $10 million for a public speaking gig? Hey, look, man, I'm not famous. Right? I'm barely infamous. But I worked as a public speaker for a long time. And I knew cats that made big money public speaking. Tony Robbins, big money public speaking. You think he's getting $10 million for a gig? How about getting paid for public speaking gigs that you don't even show up for? I shit you not, research it. Clinton got paid by colleges to go speak there, didn't even show up. No harm, no foul. See, because it really wasn't about speaking. It was about laundering money. It was about taking huge amounts of cash. Just like last night when I was talking about the billionaires, and one of them said, paid $10 million to Epstein to help with taxes. The F does Epstein know about taxes? Did he get that in his college degree? Oh, no, that's right. He only spent 2 years at Cooper Union. Then he failed out and he went to the Dalton School, right? Because what prestigious prep school, and I don't mean like, there are prestigious prep schools all over the United States. This is the cream of the crop. And they're servicing kids, right? They're servicing is the wrong word until Epstein got there. They're teaching students whose parents are mayors, governors, like this is the cream of the crop. This is big money. So you hire a college dropout who's in his early 20s and make him a teacher for math. Because you don't need a friggin' degree to teach kids math, right? Nah, no problem. Problem is he wants to bang the kids. For real. Shows up at parties. Showed up at work every day wearing a fur coat. Shirt unbuttoned, gold chains. Didn't work. Scared the crap out of everybody. Normally, you get fired from that. And if you don't end up in jail, you sure as shit get blackballed from getting a job anywhere else on planet Earth. Instead, he gets hired at a place called Bear Stearns, defunct, no longer around. Do a little research into Bear Stearns. Take you about an hour and a half. You know what you'll find out? That 80% of the people that know anything about that place said it was a front for the CIA. No joke. It's one more place for the CIA to launder money. Why? Because they don't want to go to Congress and ask for money to go screw around in other countries, toppling governments, torturing people, waterboarding people, the usual shit. Dealing drugs, right? Huge drug dealers, biggest on the planet. And you go, come on, Tommy. Well, when we were in Afghanistan, the biggest drug problem on planet Earth was heroin. All the heroin on Earth? Well, not all. There's a lot grown in Tasmania. But anyway, tons of heroin comes out of Afghanistan. When we were trying to topple those nasty Sandinistas and working with the Contras down in South America, where they have what? Here? Cocaine. What was the problem in America? Coke problem. When we were in Vietnam, right, in Southeast Asia, and we were working trying to topple the commies there, what was the problem in America? Well, that was our first heroin problem. Why? Because that was the Golden Triangle. Anywhere where the CIA shows up, those drugs end up on the street and we have an epidemic. You think that's an accident? Check out a documentary called The Last White Hope or Great White Hope or some such shit about Freeway Ricky Ross. The United States is filthy. I don't mean the citizens. They're great. Seriously. 4th of July parades. Christmas is coming. God bless America. I love the people of America. Our government, I would trust the Gambino crime family before I would trust the government of the United States. I'm sorry. And I know people get pissed off at that. Find me somewhere along the way where you go, they handled that like a pro. Go all the way back hundreds of years. I'm not playing. How about Pearl Harbor? Right? We knew it was coming. If you think I'm making this up, if you think this is a tinfoil hat, do just 5 minutes of research. Our government knew it was coming. We didn't empty the boats because if there was a spy there, they would have known we were onto them. So we just let our guys go to sleep, writing letters to their girlfriends, and let thousands of them die because we needed to get into that war, you see. It was important to the national interest. And you go, I mean, it sucks, but I can kind of see that. The problem with that is it's a slippery slope, right? If that becomes acceptable, how about 2,000 girls getting molested, right? It's 2,000 girls. There's 330 million Americans. If you had to give up 2,000 girls, right, to get the aims of the country, now that's assuming the U.S. was doing it. Maybe the U.S. was doing it with the Israelis or MI6 or both. But either way, the FBI knew about this crap in 1996 and didn't do jack shit. Then they knew about it again in 2019. And where are those co-conspirators? Why are those freaking names redacted? Right? They needed to go and give these people subpoenas to show up at a grand jury, right? What happened to those grand jury testimonies? Where are they? Let's read them. Let's hear what Les Wexner got asked by the grand jury. You ain't going to hear that. I promise you're not. You know why? Because they buried that shit. They buried all of those co-conspirators. We're never going to hear about them. But these leaks, see, this is getting ugly. This is getting really ugly because you can hate the president all you want. But when he released these documents, he released these documents. There are 9 places you can go to and look at every freaking one of these documents. If you got nothing but time on your hands, right? If you're on manana time, you can start reading through all this stuff. And most of it's just bupkis. There's not much there. But then you come across stuff like this, or you come across that little 1-page thing about some woman named Marie Farmer that showed up at the FBI and said, Jeffrey Epstein has pictures of my little sisters naked in his briefcase. I don't know how he got them, but he's blackmailing me with those. And the head of the snake is a guy named Les Wexner. He lives in Ohio. And I've seen thousands of women, young girls, there we go. But here we are today saying there were 2,000 victims. In 1996, Marie Farmer said thousands of girls got trafficked. She was witness to that. How did they do it? How do you get all those girls? Well, you could set up Victoria's Secret. Oh, God help us. Epstein had cards printed that said his name on it for Victoria's Secret. He and Les and a bunch of other people would go around and scout girls and go, we're looking for models for Victoria's Secret. I know you're a little young, but we're trying to get people so that when they turn 18, now thousands of them, who made sure these girls didn't have a dad ready to kick ass? Who made sure these girls didn't have a mother that would call the cops instantly? Because what they targeted were kids who came from homes where they didn't have to worry that they were going to get reported. They got these girls from homes where if they were gone for long periods of time, mom might not care. Dad wasn't there, or dad doesn't care. They were alcoholics. If you believe that one dude was that good, right? Think about it. This guy flew all over the world, met all these people. He was in Africa. He was here. He was that, and managed to find 2,000 girls to molest during that time. And none of them had an ass-kicking 210-pound dad that was ready to stomp him out like a brush fire. This was a James Bond kind of setup, people. Child molesters don't have multiple passports. Spies do. Child molesters don't dodge bullet after bullet after bullet. So after that asshat gets a job at a fake front, the CIA deal at Bear Stearns, well, the Securities and Exchange Commission goes, what the hell is this dude doing? He's not trading any stock. He gets fired, right? Protect yourself. Get rid of this dude. You've been fired from 2 jobs in a row. Kind of hard to get your next one, right? No. He gets a job working for a cat named Adnan Khashoggi. When Khashoggi's kid got killed in an embassy, they called him Khashoggi. But Adnan Khashoggi is what they called him when I was a kid in the 80s. And he was the world's largest arms dealer. In fact, Forbes magazine did an article about him. Said if you were to sell everything in his living room, your family could live comfortably for eternity. He had a living room where everything in it was gold. This was a guy that just sold guns, weapons, missiles, whatever. And he was the broker for the United States because, you see, we couldn't really be selling arms to our enemies. So we had Adnan Khashoggi do it. And this is what was going on in Iran-Contra, right? Oliver North, remember all this shit? But you got to move massive amounts of money. Today we do it like this, click. Back then, you couldn't do that. It wasn't like you could just move bits. Like wiring money was a very different thing. It was way different than it is today. So you needed somebody that was good at that crap. Guess who it was? You guessed it, Jeffrey Epstein. Prior to that, though, he did a quick Ponzi scheme where his friend went to prison for 25 years. When his friend got out and started talking about what really happened, he was magically found dead in his apartment. 7 days later, in an air-conditioned apartment in Connecticut, he was found lying on his face dead. They couldn't identify him by his face, whether or not it was him or not. I don't know if any of you have ever been a firefighter, ever worked in an ambulance, been in the military. 7 days, right, of air conditioning. Couldn't identify his face. Too much decomposition. Just like the guy hanging with a shotgun blast in his chest. I hung myself. Didn't really feel like it was working, so I shot myself with a shotgun, or vice versa. Are you kidding? How do you list that as a suicide in clear conscience? But anyway, after his Ponzi scheme, where he ran off with millions of dollars, he worked for Adnan Khashoggi, did the Iran-Contra affair. I've read every book you could read on that. They never mentioned his name. Now it's showing up. But they didn't back then. From there, it just kept getting better for him. Now he shows up in New York with an absolute ass pile of money, and he is named the most eligible bachelor in New York. I'm not playing. So he goes down to Florida, buys some property down there in Palm Beach, and just is a jet-setting rich dude with a bunch of jets, right? How did this money come from? Well, after failing for everything he touched in life, Les Wexner, the guy that owns Victoria's Secret, says, I'm hiring this guy to be my financial advisor. You can buy my townhouse in New York that overlooks Central Park. Give me $1. Yeah, that passes the smell test, right? All of this does. Next chance to get busted, a magazine writes an article about him. But the royal family steps in and says, you're not going to run that article, right? And the woman says, I'm running it anyway. Till her cat shows up with his head removed on her front porch, right? The following day, just a bullet. Intimidation. All of this shit has been going on forever. And he just keeps dodging bullet after bullet. Then there's that woman on television. Someone will put her name up there because I've forgotten it. But she had a whole story ready to go until the people at her office said, we're killing the story. We're killing it. Why? Because he's a spy. Because no matter what this dude does, he isn't going to get in trouble. Until he screws up bad in Florida. See, there's too many victims down there. And there's a cop that they ain't going to run off this. There's a cop that goes, no, this isn't right. Look at all these victims. By the way, he died. All right, young. But he died too. We can't ask him any questions. Look at the list of people that were anywhere inside of that sphere of influence that had anything to do with Epstein or the case. Man, oh man, you're better off shooting fentanyl, right, than knowing Epstein. Doesn't pass the smell test. None of it does. But then again, he gets to go into jail just every now and then. You know, go in at night, come out in the morning, go do whatever he wants to do. Why not, right? That makes sense. And the prosecutor that doesn't prosecute him, well, he gets a cabinet position. You can't make this shit up. But this is all coming out now. For real. This is all coming out now. Now we know that in 1996, Maria Farmer told the FBI who this dude was, what he was doing, who set up the operation, who was involved in it, all of it. Bill Clinton dropped all the names. The FBI treated her like crap. In fact, she said they harassed her, right? Disrespected, you're crazy. Then they harassed her family. You know what she does for a living? She sells antiques. She's got a little antique store. Doesn't want anyone in the world knowing what she's doing. Just leave me the hell alone. That makes sense. But when she came back out and did an interview, right, with Whitney Webb asked in the interview, is there anybody that could prove any of this? Because this is kind of crazy stuff, right? She said, yeah, the chef that worked for him. He's the smoking gun. That fool didn't make it 14 days, right? After she did that interview, poof, he's dead. Died of natural causes at the age of 62 in his sleep. I got a question for you. How do you determine if someone died of natural causes? Huh? Anybody here logical? We got any critical thinkers? Because it depends on what side of the pond you're on. See, if you're from the other side of the pond, you'll say by a post-mortem. If you're from the United States, you'd say you do an autopsy. They didn't do an autopsy. No reason to. So you start thinking logically, maybe he's a fat guy. I'm not being disrespectful. I'm not body shaming. I don't give a shit what you look like. But maybe he's a fat guy. Maybe he's out of shape. The guy's a chef. Maybe he eats a lot. No. Avid skier. Plays a ton of golf. Very good shape. Didn't have sleep apnea, none of that stuff. But died of natural causes at 62. We know it's natural causes. How? Well, because they told us. I mean, they wouldn't lie to us. Where are the 8 co-defendants? Maybe it doesn't matter, right? Maybe it doesn't matter. Because after all, what did they tell Epstein? Here's your deal. We're not going to prosecute you. We're not going to take your land. You're not going to do any time. Not in the feds. And neither are any of your co-conspirators, named or unnamed. So maybe, just maybe, in 2019, someone saw this and went, whoa, we're not prosecuting anybody on this case. Why? Well, because there's a security agency from another country that's got us by the ball sack. And if we go after these people, they're going to get us. See, they got pictures of all of our politicians banging little kids. Not to mention most of the billionaires, right? Who did we show last night? Well, Richard Branson's not ours, but Sir Richard Branson is in that. Who else? The guy that started Google, he's in that. One of the co-founders of PayPal, he's in that. Who am I missing? 3 hedge fund guys. Oh, Bill Gates. Don't forget Bill Gates. Then you say, Woody Allen? That dude's poor. Right? We're talking about guys with billions of dollars. Look at Lovejoy. How kind is that? Turning people green. God bless you, man. I appreciate it. I really do. That is a very kind thing to do. I appreciate that. Peter Thiel, there you go. Look at that. Sergey Brin. Wow, look at that. People wrapping them off, right? Not to mention a bunch of politicians from other countries. Nothing to see here. Hey, I got an idea. Check it out. It's Mick Jagger. Look, there's a picture of Michael Jackson. Read the stuff. Don't look at the pictures. The pictures are those really attractive girls at magic shows who are going, dun, 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 right? Look over here. While they swap that lion for that magician. You know, David Copperfield. He's on that list too, you know. He's super good friends with Epstein. By the way, the list I put out last night, that's not people in his black book. There's over like 100 names of famous people you've heard of in that black book. I only put names in there of people we can verify who hung out with him, exchanged crap loads of email. These guys were his friends. I'll tell you what, man. I spent a lot of my life as a dirtbag, and I knew what everybody did. I'd go over to people's houses. I knew if they were on dope. I knew what dope they were doing. If they were fences, they bought stolen shit. They didn't have to tell me what was going on. Because you walk into a guy's house and you look around and he's got like 9 laptops sitting on a counter. The guy's probably a fence, right? Because if he stole those, he would have already sold them. Common sense shit. You go into someone's house and he has a picture of children on the wall, right? In sexual positions. He's got a picture of a little kid holding a dildo on the wall. Maybe you realize something ain't right. How about all the people that worked for him? You got any idea how many people had to work for this scumbag? For real. You think you get those people out of the yellow pages? I doubt it. I think most of those people had to have been brought in from other places. Ryan Dawson has the names. There are so many places that you can go and look this stuff up. But again, don't get wahooed. Because I'm telling you right now, we can go, well, Bill Clinton was president when the first report was put in. Matters not. You could say Biden was in office in 2019 when they're talking about these co-conspirators. Forget that. Biden, Democrat, Clinton, it doesn't matter. I promise you it's got nothing to do with that. If this was a right or left thing, then the right would have bent the left over and absolutely taken them out with what's in those files. And if it was the other way around, they would have done it. Those files will cripple America. Those files are going to show that we bow to another country. That's what they're going to show. They're going to show that the biggest honeypot operation in the world caught up politicians, billionaires, all that. And there's so much egg on the face of the United States to say, yeah, that little country, right, about the size of Rhode Island, there are more Jews in the United States than there are in Israel. That little country that we've been selling weapons to and taking care of for all those years, they've been doing us dirty. Yeah, by any means necessary. They've decided that. Think I'm wrong? Peruse the files. It'll give you a headache. Your eyes will hurt. Go read those files. I'm telling you, that farmer lady, God bless you if you ever hear this, she's the real deal. She is. She got out. She told the truth, and the FBI went, how you doing? And then, back in 2019, right, the 10 co-conspirators, right? No further charges resulted from these specific leads. These emails are part of a larger FBI communication release from 2025 dump, highlighting the early investigative efforts post Epstein's 2019 arrest. No further charges resulted from these specific leads. 8 co-conspirators, nobody did anything wrong. Find that in another case. Find me a drug case, and I'm not making this up off the top of my head because I did this today. Find any case on planet Earth where the FBI said, this is the guy that did it, and here are 10 co-conspirators. Oh, we were wrong. None of them did anything. The FBI doesn't take co-conspirator, meaning Tommy Scoville said Sandy Wandy did it, right? That's not a co-conspirator. That's, I can't remember the name of the form, but that's just some dude that says, hey, this person did this. Then they chase it down and they go see if Sandy Wandy's slinging dope or if she's robbing banks, and they look at everything and they go, yep, co-conspirator. They already know they're co-conspirators. They were involved. They weren't finding these, they were finding these people. They already knew, but no arrest came. People, this can't go away. Let's see what John's got to say here. It looked interesting. Was there a lot redacted on the files? Shit, yeah. Oh, the names, right? Of those names, I got Epstein, I got Les Wexner, and that was an accident. It really was. It says someone in Ohio, and then later drop down. It says Wexner, and that had to be him anyway. I mean, he owns Ohio. Tommy, do your homework on the city council in Cherokee County, Georgia. You have no idea the amount of corruption in Metro Atlanta, Marietta, Cherokee County. It's a big deal. I will do that. In fact, here's what I got to do though, because I'm a guy who's the old gray matter. It ain't what it used to be. Know what I mean? Know what I mean? So let me do this. This is my cheat sheet, people. Good looking out. Good looking out. Never would happen. Everybody would be going down. Damn right. Damn right. Co-conspirators are co-conspirators. So let me get this straight. The grand jury, anybody ever heard the famous quote about grand juries? It's funny as hell, especially if you're a convict. A grand jury will indict what? The famous expression is, a grand jury will indict a ham sandwich. Now, the prosecution has to then prove that that ham sandwich did something wrong. But it is a famous quote that a grand jury will indict a ham sandwich, but apparently not those 10 co-defendants. Then why is Ghislaine Maxwell in prison then if he wasn't prosecuting? Oh, well, here's the deal. There were Ghislaine Maxwell, right? And Jean-Luc Brunel, who ended up dead. Jeffrey Epstein ended up dead. They needed a scapegoat to put all this on. All of the women that had come out said Epstein and Maxwell did this, 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 and this. This is the woman that they were going to put it on. And they buried her. They put her into a prison where you're not doing interviews. Charles Manson said, come on out. NBC came out to him. Can't do that in the federal system, right? But once her appeal went in, her appeal didn't say, here's where it screwed up. It said, we had a deal. That's what her appeal said. Pull it up. I had a deal with the Department of Justice. You can't prosecute me. Who the hell says that? Ding, ding, ding. A spy. We had a deal. Epstein couldn't be prosecuted and his co-conspirators couldn't. I was his co-conspirator. Then everybody got scared shitless of Ghislaine Maxwell, right? Because she's the most dangerous woman on planet Earth. If there's anyone out there that knows exactly what was going on, it's her. Now, in my humble opinion, she's a zealot. She's the real deal. She's a true believer. She'll die for the cause, just like a dad, right? In her words, and I'm sorry, cover your ears if it wasn't a bummer. Yeah, her dad was a spy. And I was about to say, she is quoted as saying those effing cunts pushed him off of the boat. The boat was named after her. It's called the Lady Ghislaine. And he allegedly fell off the boat and drowned. His autopsy said, yes, he fell off the boat and drowned. Got the shit kicked out of him first. Bruises all over himself. Their answer was maybe he fell from the very top. And on the way down, someone gave him this one. He was killed. Why? Because he kept stealing money out of the retirement funds of that huge group that he had that held all the media in Great Britain. Right? Now, he used to do that for the Mossad. Not that they didn't have money, but sometimes you got to it takes time to move it. So they'd say, hey, pull 20 million out. We're trying to do an operation. You pull 20 million out. The Mossad would give it back to him, right? Allegedly. And then he'd put it back in. But you do that for 10 or 20 years, right? Well, when they stop asking for it, you go, maybe I'll just pull a little money out of that for myself. Kind of want this big boat, right? And this continues. They keep pulling money out of here, money out of there. And then he goes to the Mossad and says, hey, I've been helping you for how long? Every time you needed my help, every time you asked for it, I was there. Well, I'm getting investigated. There's a newspaper doing an expose about me, and I've stolen a ton of money, and I got to get back that account. And they gave him a burial where every big official in all of Israel showed up, called him one of the great patriots for Israel. Kind of like Les Wexner, who isn't a Jew. Odd. Maybe the waves were particularly rough when he went overboard. You could be right, man. John says, I used to worry about driving a dime bag down the road to a buddy's house. Yeah, well, you know what? If you're a spy, you could do that with your, give the cops the finger. There's a great scene in the movie where Tom Cruise plays Barry Seals, where they bust him and he's sitting in there laughing. They're like, you're going to prison for the rest of your life. He goes, oh, no, I'm not. Oh, no, I'm not. You got no idea who I am. They're going to come in here and they're going to release me. Jeffrey Epstein didn't fear much of anything. If you want to have a little fun, go look at the interview that they did with Epstein while he's sitting in that chair. At one point, they asked him a question that pissed him off. He got up and walked out. But up until that point, he was smiling his ass off. You know why? Because nothing else ever stuck. He knew they'd eventually come and get him out. And there are people all over the planet that think they came and got him out of prison. At some point, you got to kill people like that. And I'm not being a dick. This is just criminal thinking, right? I mean, what benefit does this guy still have to the organization? For the people that go, I think that Epstein's not dead, they took him out. To do what? Where in the world can he go that people aren't going to go, you're Jeffrey Epstein? And I know people go, well, you get plastic surgery. Man, you've seen too many movies. They're not going to make you look like they change your nose up a little bit. He's Jeffrey freaking Epstein, right? He's just better off killed. He's a spy. Spies get killed. They screw up bad enough, right? What do they used to say? If you get captured, we're not going to admit we know you. Well, he got captured. And they were going to prosecute him for being a child molester at a massive level. And he's sitting in there going, how much time am I looking at? They're not going to come and get me out? Well, maybe I just tell them everything. That's not a guy you can let keep breathing. And you go, well, how did they get into a prison? I don't know. Ask the Clintons. I'm not shitting you. Ask the Clintons. Ask Obama. Ask Donald Trump. Ask Joe Biden. Because somebody at the top that didn't want this getting out said, no problem. But we saw the door, Tommy. The camera was focusing at the door. Yeah, talk to a convict that's done any time. There's 3 doors in those places. There's one you walk in, and then there's the one the cops come through if they're pissed. The goon squad, when they're throwing flashbangs, they're not coming through the front door. They're coming through the goon door. Those doors stay closed until they have to come in. And then they come in Ninja Turtle suits, they throw flashbangs, and they beat the piss out of everybody. Can't have one door. I promise you. Sadly, that's something I know a lot about. His usefulness was over, says Barbara Waite, and I think that about nailed it. He's on that magical island with Elvis and Tupac. I had a really good friend years ago, an ex-Atlanta cop. He spied, got caught. The United States would not admit he was from the country. Yeah, well, that about checks out. And why would you? You're not going to out yourself, right? You're not going to go, yeah, that's our guy. Yeah, we sent him over there to do this. You go, I don't know who the hell he is. He's probably on dope. Kill him. Put him in jail. Do whatever you're going to do. He got stepped on the second mission. He went to the almost got caught. Then he yeah, you know what? It's not something that they're going to hook you up on. Obama is the wrong color to have been invited to the party. Yeah, here's the problem with that. He had these freaking files too. Do the math on when that cat was in office. These files have been there since 1996. Oh, he got invited to the party. I promise you he did. They don't give a shit about the color of your skin. It's about how much power you can wield. I promise you. Now, if you believe that this is an Israel-run Mossad thing, well then, they say white supremacists. Well, they're a Zionist supremacist too. Here's an interesting question, right? And I'm working on this. It's really hard to do because they don't leak victims' names. But how much do you want to bet you're not going to find one Jew among any of those victims? We know that there are black girls that they took from Africa. We know that there are people that they took from the Soviet Union. They know that there are American people all over the place. How many do you think were Jews? Be really interesting to find out. See, a white supremacist ain't going to do anything to a white person. I did time with those absolute animals. Right? And there are black people who are racist, and they're not going to do anything. And if you're a supremacist for Israel, you're probably not messing with your own people either. Be really interesting to see how many of those victims were of Jewish descent. It really would. All right, people, I'm going to go hide under my bed and hope that the CIA doesn't show up tonight. That's all right. I don't live in America. Between now and the next time I see you, maybe you want to head over there. You know what WikiLeaks is, right? You guys are familiar with WikiLeaks, I'm sure. There's something called Epstein or EpiLeaks. And it's all, you can find all of those documents there. If you're bored, you can't sleep, your head doesn't hurt, maybe go and read some of them. I think it'll blow your mind. I'm not going to stop on this one. I'm not. As they keep releasing these, I'm going to keep reading it. And by the way, adios to you too. I don't believe that I've found all of it. I'm not here to tell you that. But when I find something that makes me go, holy shit, then I come here and talk to you about it. I think that's kind of my gig at this point, isn't it? Wes Lightberg, good to see you, my friend. All of you, I love you. I apologize that I don't say hi to you guys more often. Here's the thing. We're rebuilding the boat. We really are. I'm doing this kind of content again. Legalized, good to see it. So we kind of have to do, I kind of got to hook people in the beginning. I promise we'll get back to it. I promise you I will. But for the time being, I got to pretend I'm a YouTuber. In fact, hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit the thumbs up thing, bell for notification, right? And